Hey guys, John here from Sonic Drive Studio. I hope you're all doing excellent. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to compare the PRS MT15 lunchbox amplifier to the PRS Archon 50 tube amplifier head. Both these amplifiers are excellent, and some people say that the MT15, the Mark Tremonti signature head, is basically a mini Archon. But is it really? Do they sound exactly the same, or are there some differences between the two? Let's find out. Aside from the tone, there are obviously some differences between these amplifiers. They both have two channels, a clean and a lead channel, yes. On both amps, both channels have their own EQ and gain and volume controls. But the MT15 only has a presence control, whereas the Archon 50 has a presence control and a depth control. And the Archon 50 also has independent bright switches for each channel, which is a great addition to this amplifier, in my opinion. The MT15 has a power and a standby switch, whereas the Archon 50 only has a power switch, which is an interesting choice. The MT15 is only a 15 watt amplifier with two 6L6 tubes in the power section, and the Archon 50 obviously is a 50 watt amplifier with two 6CA7 power tubes in the power section. Both the amplifiers come with a foot switch when you buy them, and they also both have an effects loop. The MT15 is obviously more compact, and it has less power than the Archon. So the Archon will be louder with more headroom and just more oomph and low end basically, especially at higher levels. Now let's see how these amplifiers compare sonically, and let's start with the clean channels. Now both these amplifiers have sort of similar clean channels in that they are very high headroom, so very clean channels. Not really great for crunch tones or anything like that without a pedal. On the Archon I will enable the bright switch because that's just how I like it. And on the MT15, I am going to pull out the treble pull boost on the clean channel as well. For all the clips in this video, the amps are going through my RedSeven Amplification Amp Central Reactive load and into York audio cabinets. And for these clean tones, I'm using the York MES412 OS cabinet on Mic Mix 01. And the guitar that I'm using for this is my Gibson Les Paul Standard with the Seymour Duncan 59 pickup in the neck. Let's check it out. Okay, they both sounded fine. They do sound kind of similar, but they don't sound exactly the same. In the mix, the MT15 sounds a little bit more slinky and a little bit more bright, and the Archon just has a bit of a fuller and more warm sound with a bigger low end. Let's also check out that comparison with just the guitars isolated. Okay, so again, they sound kind of similar, but definitely not exactly the same. They both sound great, but the Archon is just a bit more fat and full sounding, and the MT15 is just a little bit more bright and sort of thin sounding, but not really in a bad way. And of course, you've got the EQ on these amplifiers to tweak them even further if you want. Now let's go ahead and check out the fun stuff, the lead channels, and let's compare those using my Gibson Les Paul Custom on the bridge pickup. And again, on the Archon for the lead channel, I'm also going to enable the bright switch because again, I just like how that sounds. It really opens the amplifier up. The EQ and presence and resonance control are dialed in to taste, just as with the MT15, just for a nice, thick and chunky rhythm tone basically with plenty of gain. The MT15 has slightly different settings going on when compared to the Archon in terms of the positions of the controls. For these tones, the amplifiers are going through the York 212 M65 cabinet, so the cream backs, also on Mic Mix 01. Let's go ahead and check it out right now. Okay, interesting. They both sound awesome, obviously, but the differences are similar as they were with the clean channels. They definitely don't sound exactly the same though. Again, the MT15 is a little bit more tight and slinky sounding, and the Archon just has a bit of a fatter low end. And the Archon overall just sounds a bit more raw, a bit more meaty and bigger overall. The MT15 is just a little bit more tight and smooth sounding basically. But yeah, it's kind of obvious with these tones that the Archon has a bit more headroom, so a bit more oomph, especially in the lows. Now let's also check that out in isolation. Here we go. Cool. They both sound pretty great, don't they? So is the MT15 a mini Archon? No, not really. They do sound kind of similar, and you can dial them in to sound even more similar, I think. But overall, the MT15 just sounds a bit more tight and refined and sort of smooth, and a bit more slinky, so to speak. And the Archon just sounds bigger, more raw, untamed and fat with more headroom and more bigness, especially in the lows. And the Archon also just has this very unique and interesting sort of character in the texture of the mids, which I really like. But yeah, obviously this one has more headroom, so it's going to go louder and it will stay bigger with higher levels than the smaller MT15. So both these amplifiers are absolutely awesome. Obviously the MT15 is more affordable. So if I had to pick one, I would definitely go with the Archon. I just like how it sounds with the bigness and the rawness of the tone. But I also really appreciate the additional options like the bright switches and the depth control. So yeah, I honestly really love the Archon, but the MT15 is great as well. You can't go wrong with them basically. So which one sounded the best to you? Which one would you pick if you had to choose one of these? Let me know in the comments down below. That's all for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons down below along with the notification bell, as that really helps the channel out. I'd hugely appreciate that. And you can also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you very soon. Bye.